But you're not allowed to laugh in the
No, I am, but not in the beginning.
Why are you not allowed to laugh?
I do laugh. No, I'm saying just to start.
Okay.
Please make me laugh in the show.
Um,
Now it's pressure.
okay.
Okay. Hi guys, and welcome to The Truth Hurts with me, Toniquinne. The Truth Hurts is a show about recovery and everything in between. And today I'm super excited to have David Collins in studio with us. By studio, I mean we are currently at the Foundation Clinic in Oakland, an amazing rehabilitation center in Johannesburg that I think is one of the greatest places ever. And yeah, so we have the opportunity to chat to David about his life, about what he's doing in the community, and his own personal recovery journey. So thank you for being with us, Dave.
Thank you for having me.
So Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself, your story.
Oh, where to start? It's a long story, but it's. I grew up in an alcoholic home.
Yeah.
That's it. Grew up in South Africa in the 70s, and went to the UK, and my addiction was very stereotypical. Became a crack and heroin addict.
As you do.
As you do. And as I said, I never would be. I'd never end up like that.
That's not me. That's not me.
And my story progressed to a place of my kids were taken away and put in foster care. And that still hurts. And I started my recovery back in '96. And it's been a bumpy road, but it's been a hell of a journey. So I don't really want to go into the whole drug log of it all.
Yeah.
It ended up where it always does, in a bad place, and I've spent the rest of my life since then trying to recover things back, trying to recover my self-esteem, my self-respect, fulfill all my various roles, being a father, being a husband, being a boss, because addiction impacted all those roles.
Absolutely.
And left me feeling with a lot of guilt and shame. And the guilt and shame is what I've had to climb out of over the years, and this place helped me do that. And if I actually think about what drove the passion to create this space, is there's a wounded little boy in me that just wants to sober up his father. And that's really the drive at this, because it's really been a passion project. But I cannot run an organization from a wounded child place.
Yes, absolutely.
So I've had to adultify. I'm at 55.
I like that word.
Adultify.
Adultify. Guys, it's time to adultify with David Collins.
Step up to your best self.
Hashtag.
So yeah, and I'm quite controversial in the sense that I always want to try new things to make recovery more available to more people, to speak to different voices. The schools programs are terrible. They just take somebody that's messed their life up and said, no, go and talk to the kids, and the kids are there and they just think, I'm never going to end up like that.
I had this conversation on my live last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that, trust me. Yeah.
So that's what got me into TikTok. I just thought, what are these people up to? What are you doing? And then the first videos I made were on the 12 steps. I just did very short ones on the 12 steps. Yeah, so I'm constantly trying to get the message out there, the message of what is a culture of recovery. Yeah? We all know what a culture of addiction is.
Yeah.
A culture of addiction is carrying on a behavior or something in spite of the negative consequences. You know? So you see someone deteriorating and that impacts you. So the family then goes into a culture of addiction. And everyone starts to talk about the problem, and everyone seems to have an opinion about this stuff.
Yeah.
And then the people that have an opinion, they all start arguing amongst themselves. So what we want to do is we want the individual to become empowered to understand what they can do to start to find their own solutions to their own recovery. And a lot of people go the harm reduction route.
Yeah. Can you explain harm reduction a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So harm reduction is very simply, it's reducing the harm that somebody's going through their behavior, the harm on themselves and those around them. So if you've got somebody who's smoking meth, yeah, and instead of smoking meth, they go onto some sort of meds, I don't know, Dexedrine.
Oh, so like MAT treatment.
Or, yeah. Methadone-assisted treatment, opioid-assisted treatment, all that sort of stuff. It takes them out of that environment, yeah, and then they can start their process. People seem to have a strong opinion about it. My own journey with methadone was that when I engaged with methadone, I just started to use it in a culture of addiction way to try and get more drugs. Yeah, so you sell it, you do whatever. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people stabilize and start to change.
There's an amazing, so I'm only recently learning about this kind of treatment, this harm reduction treatment now, and basically through TikTok, because in South Africa it's not really discussed, if I'm correct. I think you might be the only person who's ever mentioned it to me in a rehabilitation, well, like in speaking with you, you know?
So the coaching work we do in the UK, where we're taking homeless people off the streets, getting them housing, getting them kind of stable, and then putting them into treatment. So you meet them where they're at, where they're using, as opposed to trying to get somebody completely clean, because life just doesn't work like that for the majority of people.
Yeah. Especially people that are at that rock kind of bottom on the street, you know?
You know, it's also, trauma plays a big part in substance use disorder, yeah, being overwhelmed. We've learned from our mistakes, hopefully. But what I've noticed is if you take somebody that's homeless off the streets too quickly, that becomes traumatic for them.
It's very interesting. That's very interesting.
So we've had some very good Samaritans here come and take the Nyope addicts that are smoking at the traffic lights, bringing them for treatment, getting them a house or a flat or something, and the guys have been too overwhelmed with it.
Yeah.
And then the good Samaritans get all frustrated and think, oh my God, we tried so hard with these people and they just don't want their help. And then that starts to perpetuate.
I actually know a guy on the street who was taken in by like a charity organization, and he couldn't do it. It was, first of all, you feel like you owe these people so much, and it's traumatic. You didn't make that choice. You're kind of just taken and put in an environment. And
it's so kind of counterintuitive, because you would think, you know.
Yeah, you want this, you want this.
So why are you still using?
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. It's very interesting. Sorry, I know I'm taking us off course, but
No, go.
I'm very interested in the kind of the MAT treatment, the harm reduction kind of treatment, because on TikTok, actually, I've only learned about it through TikTok. There's a huge debate in the States around it. So people are saying, are you clean if you're on Suboxone, or are you not? And to me, if you're on it and you're living a better life and you're actually alive and you're not using your drug and you're not affecting everyone around you and yourself, and you're healing and you're able to wean off, that should, in a sense, be considered recovery in its own way.
So the way that we tackle this is we say that there are multiple pathways to recovery, and that the individual decides what their recovery looks like.
Yes.
So instead of me trying to tell you what recovery is and you must comply and do it, to get curious about, so what does recovery look like for you? Yeah. And when you engage with people at that point, you start to build rapport, and the relationship is based around, I'm here to coach you, to support you in defining what your recovery is for you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to have conversations with you to find out how it's going and how it can improve. So, for example, when I've been working with people in gambling, I'll meet a gambler and they'll say, I'm not going to go to any of those meetings. Well, okay, you don't have to go to any meetings. What do you want to do? I want to control it. Okay, good luck. Let's see what happens. Let's try, put some strategies in place where the person goes and tries some controlled gambling.
Yeah.
And then comes back kind of, the first time the guy came back, he'd won.
Oh God!
So the strategy kind of worked. But after a while, he realized that he just likes to hang out in the casino, and then he lost again. And then one day he came to me and he said, "You've made me want to go to those meetings."
Yeah.
So it was holding him in the process till he became willing enough to go to meetings. Now, if you look at how the 12 steps started and the AA started, it was one bloke helping another, and they did that for 10 years before they came up with the steps.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened with the success of the steps, it then, in the 60s under the Kennedy administration, became a program. Yeah. And they recognized addiction as a disease, and then...
Did they actually define it as a disease?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that, yeah.
Okay, so you can see it in the DSM-5 criteria. So a bunch of psychiatrists come together and then they decide what's the criteria is. So we've gone from people being addicts to becoming dual diagnosis, basically. So the culture's changed, the stigma's still there, everyone has an opinion, the medical profession have come in and taken it from what was a spiritual connection of me just helping you because when I help you, that's helpful for me. Yeah? So I'm helping you not for money, I'm helping you because I get spiritual fulfillment out of that. And that got lost or started to deteriorate when the medical industry took over. Now, if you look at it, when people in the very beginning came through the doors of AA, they were beaten. They said, I don't want to drink anymore.
Yes.
I don't want to drink anymore. When people are going into clinics and rehabs, and the rehabs and the courts and everyone are saying, you must go to meetings, all of a sudden the environment starts to deteriorate because you get filled with a whole lot of people that don't want to be there.
That's very
so
true.
There's not a common purpose. Yeah. So you might want to be sober. I just want to fucking come to this meeting so I can get out.
Yeah, I need to tick it off.
Yeah, and that's had an impact. Yeah. So that's one of the problems that you have this institution, like you have to do it this way because this is the way I did it, and the book said it, and this, and it's complete abstinence, and you've got some very strong opinionated people coming up with medical advice for somebody about what recovery is and isn't. Yeah? Because a lot of people self-medicate because they've got underlying mental illness, and I mean, what's your primary?
It's the eating disorder and the body dysmorphic disorder.
Okay, great. Okay. So as part of that recovery or that descent into that illness, the addiction became a part of that journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It kind of suppressed the eating disorder and the BDD in a way because it gave me something else to focus on, and I didn't think about food at that point. But then again, when I put down the substance, so 9 years ago, what's the one thing that comes out stronger than ever and ends me up in hospital? The eating disorder. So I put down the substance and I'm still dealing with that primary illness.
So what is addiction? It's that mental obsession. And that mental obsession is common whether you're crawling around the carpet looking for crumbs. Yeah.
Cat litter.
Yeah, cat litter. Whether you're obsessing about how you look, whether you're kind of counting calories or doing all that sort of stuff. The point is your mind is in an obsessive state. Yeah. And it's when that obsessive state takes you away from your other roles. Yeah? So me, I'm a complete workaholic. I'm not smoking crack and shooting heroin. I'm obsessed about helping people. I neglect my children. Yeah? I'm on TikTok. I'm just not present for Christmas. It's like, oh, I found TikTok, make a movie. You've spoken about being addicted to TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So it's more about becoming aware about that mental obsession and how I can look after myself with it, and others can be respectful of it, and I can also take account of the impact that has on other people.
Yeah, it's the self-awareness that comes with it.
All that stuff. Yeah, am I still making sense?
Yeah, it always makes sense.
Okay,
so good. You're talking about the issues. So we spoke about harm reduction. And
yeah. So if somebody gets on a harm reduction path, that might lead them to complete abstinence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The family might think, oh, good, they're going to stop taking drugs. We're going to live happily ever after now. The family then have to put up with the reality of now the drugs have stopped. This person's coming back to the family. Things often get worse then. Yeah, because all the stuff starts to come up that has been pushed down for many.
Yeah, that real core trauma.
Yeah, the past. So our past influences how we're going to show up in the future. Yeah. So when people argue like that, it's a problem. Yeah? The solution is to ask the individual what they want. So I'm pro-recovery, whatever that looks like.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I find that the reason that is so controversial here, specifically in South Africa, is that most of the rehabilitation centers I know, or recovery counselors or coaches, are about that one specific path, complete abstinence.
Okay, so let's look at that. So we take something that's a spiritual program, we monetize it, we create a industry around it, and we say this is the way that you have to do it, which is something that was free.
Yes.
And what should be happening is through the hospitals and institutions, their relationships that they have with treatment centers should handle that component. But what happens while people are in treatment, their money should be used for things like behavioral change, addressing the trauma, family system stuff. They need to be educated around that sort of stuff. And then there's a relationship between the treatment facility and the fellowships. So if the patients choose to go to those meetings, they can go post-treatment.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you, yeah.
And unfortunately what happens is a lot of people come into treatment and they see, 12 steps, 10 beds, 24 grand a pop. Yeah, I'm going to go and open a rehab. And then you have all these fly-by-night facilities open up. And the reason treatment is expensive is because if you want to run it professionally, there's a lot of hidden costs.
Yeah.
Doctors, psychiatrists, insurance, nurses, detox meds,
it's an expensive undertaking.
It's an expensive undertaking, but it's an investment that pays back.
Yeah.
So I mean, our Dutch clients that come here, after 9 months, so their insurance pays for them to come here. After 9 months, they would have paid that money back by not using.
Yes.
From what they save.
Yeah.
So, and the cost of that person not receiving treatment impacts society at large. Yeah. So I mean, the World Health Organization and the United Nations are all for changing the war on drugs and legalizing everything, decriminalizing everything, and making it an educational and medical problem.
I've seen that they're doing that a lot. I can't remember which country it is. Portugal, yes. So they decriminalized everything,
Yeah,
right?
that was around 2000. And so HIV went down and opiate use went down.
And then if someone is found with the substance, they go into, they get counseling?
Yeah.
Or therapy?
Yeah, they get educated.
Yeah.
Treatment and education.
I think that's amazing. They're doing something similar in Finland, I think. Well, it's not like that. They've got they get people like us, people who've experienced recovery, to speak with the youth. So it's not like this, but not in a way that they used to do in our schools. When we were in school, guys, I don't know if you had this is what I was discussing last night. There was a man who would come to all the schools, and he would dress up like an addict, like the typical junkie. And he would come to the school and look scary and look like someone you can't relate to. And he would go on the stage and he would drink his water and spit it in people's faces and tell these stories. Was it you?
No.
And tell these stories. I'll never forget him. He came to our school all the time. I don't know if he came to your school, Rhino.
No.
Okay. Well, he told a story about how he grated his face when he was on hallucinogenics and stuff. And he clearly didn't. Like, he's clearly a recovering addict. But he did it with shock value.
Yeah.
And dressed up like he did then. Not who he is now. You know? And like you get, like as a kid, you look at that, you're like, oh, that's so weird. That's never going to be me. There's no way I'm ever going to go down that path. Instead of coming, sharing his story and saying, hey, this is who I was. This is how it started. This is where I ended up and this is where I am now. And presenting himself as he is now, he presented himself as a caricature of who he was. And it was entertaining as all hell, but no one took it seriously. And I feel like that kind of education system that we have in our schools, where it's shock, 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 is what's failing the youth quite a bit.
So it's normal, in my opinion, for kids to take drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, so teenagers go down that path. And they do it to create their own identity. Yeah? So you do everything that your parents tell you not to do, and you lie to your parents. Yeah? Don't do drugs now, won't do drugs. Go out and party. Okay, and what should happen is that phase, they grow out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens with people like me and you, we get caught in that, and then we start to deteriorate down. So we change our friends to reflect back what we want. Yeah. And then the family and people can see it and say, oh, you must get with those friends, you must go this and that. That's the kind of the split. So some people grow out and go and live normal lives, other people deteriorate and end up where we do. But when we go into schools, we sit down with the kids and we create a container, a group, and then we ask the kids, what do they want to talk about? So they want to know, if my friend is pissed and vomiting, how do I look after them? Yeah? How do we stop the teachers sleeping with us? You know,
so rough.
But it's and these are the types of conversations that come up when the adults are prepared to sit and listen to the children.
That's the key, listening.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when you hear it, to hear it, not to jump in and try and fix it, rescue it, put your story all over it. You know? So everyone gets impacted by addiction. Yeah, that's the first thing. It's got nothing to do with the drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone in that person's life.
Everyone, it's a systemic problem, so everyone suffers from it. And usually what happens is the people that are suffering on the outside want to come up with a solution and say what needs to be done. You've got to kick them out, you've got to fire them, you've got to support them, you've got to... But nobody actually ever sits and says, what do you want?
But do you think you can rationalize with someone who's in that space? So say I was in active addiction and someone came up to me and said, what do you want? I'm just actually trying to put myself in that. It would be, leave me alone. So then what do you take from that?
They want to be left alone.
Can
but you can't leave him alone. It's my boy. I need you to be my boy. I love him so much. I can see why he wants to be left alone. and then this sort of stuff starts to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's.
I just like the fact that you give people a space to speak about, I want this, I want that, and then through that process allow them to make decisions for themselves that actually lead to some sort of path of recovery.
What I find happens is when you talk to someone and listen to someone, they get to hear themselves. And in their self-hearing, they kind of go, oh, well, no, actually, I don't want to just spend my life smoking meth.
Yeah.
It's not actually, that's the,
Like today, I phoned Dave today for advice about something, and you kind of, he does this thing, you guys, I swear, where you like ask a question and then I end up answering my own issue, and I come to this conclusion that I made by myself, which he basically you don't even say anything. You just let that person get to that point where they make a decision for themselves that they know in that moment is the best possible decision.
Well, who's the client or the person that has the problem? You're the one that had the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your problem was that you have a conflict about someone that you care about.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone that's using.
Yeah.
And has asked for help. And your conflict is, fuck, how do I help this person? Am I helping them or am I enabling them?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got the problem? You've got the problem.
It was my problem.
It was your problem.
It was.
Yeah. And whenever I'm in that problem, I think, what can I do that's going to help me rest at night? Because this person might die.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might not die. Usually they don't die.
Yeah, they usually don't. They usually say they will. Or it's that, like, you get... Now we're just having this conversation, guys, because I think it's a good conversation. So it's that moral dilemma with addiction, okay? So, sorry, Dave. So, for example, I've got a friend who wants help and then doesn't, and then does, and then doesn't. And then they do the thing, can I please have some money? And for me, I know in my heart I don't want to give them that money because I feel like I know where it's going. But then I also want control over it because I feel bad. I'm like, okay, I'll give them the money under certain conditions where I control the money and know where it's going. And then I feel like, okay, how is that actually helping if they don't want recovery? And then if I don't give them the money, they're going to threaten to kill themselves. And I have to be okay with the fact that that might be a possibility. So if I give them the money, they could die because they're going to go use it on drugs. Or if I don't give them the money, they're going to threaten suicide and die. It's like, it's this back and forth, and you have to come to terms with your own moral compass at that point and figure out, hey, I'm okay with this because I did what could help. And if bad things happen, I have to be okay with bad things happening. Sorry, I went on a rampage.
No, that's fine. Another option is just to give some money, knowing that you won't get it back, and then you know that they won't be asking you again.
Yeah.
So I'll lend them the money so that they don't bother me again.
I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't, hey?
Whatever works for you. I mean, that boy in me that tried to sober up his dad.
Yeah.
And I did everything. And he went on his last bender at 70 years old. And I said to him at the time, that's it, I'm done. I'm not going to see you. I want to be the angry son now. And I cut him out of my life. He sobered up.
That's what my brother did to me.
So should I have cut him out earlier? And I still make it about me. Oh, no, you should have cut him out earlier. Yeah? Or it's not about me, it's him and his journey. And
I like that so much. Because we do, I do make it about me sometimes. Well, most of the times I think that's just who we are as people. Maybe it's an addict thing. But you try to help someone and they're not taking your help, and it's like, what did I do wrong? Why am I messing up? Me. Poor me. Pour me a drink.
Well, addiction is a self-centered, self-obsessed, narcissistic prison that the person. I mean, the Afrikaans word is verslaafde, which means enslaved. and you're mentally enslaved in this thing, and imprisoned in it.
Yeah.
Obsessing about it all the time, and there's no freedom.
There is no freedom.
And recovery is about freedom.
That's it. Can you tell us a bit about the culture of recovery, which is something David talks about quite a bit, which I feel is quite important.
So the culture of recovery is living in the solution, and what we do here in treatment is we first of all work with people to get their internal resources aligned. So are they willing? Are they honest? Do they want treatment? Do they want to get better? Do they, are they doing it for somebody else? Well, just get curious around that. And then to orientate them to the external resources. So what recovery capital's out there for me? Do I have a career to go back to? Do I have a family? Do I have a wife? Do I have relationships? Do I have, No, I'm going back to a township where I'm unemployed and I made money by selling drugs. Well, we're going to have to come up with a plan there, because if you stop doing that, you're going to lose your income. If you lose your income, you're not going to be able to support your family. But if you start selling drugs again, you might go back to using. So these are the challenging conversations that need to be had.
So that would be the external. So you've got the
internal, that's the external.
Yeah.
And then we to try and empower the individual to take responsibility for making use of those services. So lots of people go to their doctor. Doctor, I'm up all night, I can't sleep, and I can't get out of bed in the morning. Oh, it sounds like you're bipolar. But the patient hasn't told the doctor that they're smoking meth.
That's what happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me. I got diagnosed with bipolar too.
Oh, okay.
I said to and I did not tell anyone I was on meth. And
why
all the
not?
Symptoms, because I wanted to carry on using, bitch.
But why couldn't you tell the psychiatrist that? Or the doctor, or whoever it was? Why couldn't you be honest with them and say, doctor, listen, I'm on meth?
I feel like there would be this huge consequence that it would go to my mom and hurt my mom more. And also I wanted to use. And also I was lying to myself a bit. Because when she told me I had bipolar 2, I kind of was like, oh, that makes sense. I don't know why. I thought it made sense. But I was on meth and capped.
So in the doctor-patient relationship, there's stigma. I can't be honest to my doctor. I mean, men struggle to talk to their doctors about erectile dysfunction. I mean, there are all sorts of shame-based things that people struggle to talk about to get help from a professional. So here in the clinic, we have internal coaches. And what an internal coach does is it looks at the relationship the client is having between their professional. So how you did you see the psychiatrist? I couldn't stand him. Oh, he reminded me of my father, whatever. Oh, let's get to another. But what was your diagnosis? What does that mean? Were you honest to him? Weren't you honest? Did you see the social worker? How's that going? Who's your focal counsellor? How was trauma group? And just to get an idea how you're relating to that recovery capital and whether it's resonating with you.
So you actually do that here?
Yeah. So we have internal coaches and external coaches. So an external coach is somebody working at a school or private practice, or you're an external coach.
Yes, yeah.
Ultimately, you're a TikTok coach, TikTok recovery coach. You understand the environment. You share your own authentic experience if it's helpful for somebody, but you don't
force it.
Well, you don't, but you don't prescribe. You don't say you need to do this. You don't. You say, but I do know a doctor. In fact, have you seen Dr. B? Go and look at Dr. B if you want to find out about harm reduction. And Suboxone or Subutex or something like that. So it's making people aware.
But you know what I like? What blew my mind with what you just said is I've been to a few rehabilitation centers in my life, and not once has someone said, how did you resonate with that therapist? Or how did that go for you? They just kind of throw you into a situation and don't ask questions. And I think well, from what I
Well,
understand.
this what makes our ethos different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a systemic approach, and you're looking to see how the relationships are going between everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah? So all our nurses and all the staff have been taught recovery coaching.
I love that.
And the reason for that is, who do you spend most of the time talking to in the clinic?
Each other and the staff.
Each other and the staff, not the doctors.
Yeah.
Not you maybe get once a week with a social worker, twice a week with a counsellor, but the
nurses, the people around.
It's people around, the security guards, so.
I like that. I think that's an important thing to touch on in regards to what you actually offer here, because that is very different to a lot of the places I've experienced. Very.
A lot of places are command control tell. Do this, do that, do this. Yeah. And when doctors speak to their patients like that, patients go and fill the scripts, but they don't take the meds. That's one of the biggest problems doctors have. Yeah. So, like the doctors that we've worked with coaching is to teach them the skill set so they have a better bedside manner in the relationship. Because doctors also have this pressure, like you must do this, get the patient to do this, you've got 15 minutes with them, you've got to prescribe, you've got to, and it's not helpful. I mean, it's how the opioid crisis happened in the States.
Yeah.
You know? It's doctors under pressure to medicate people that are in emotional pain, which is having a physical impact on them, and the doctor's kind of going, oh my God.
Benzo, codeine.
Yeah, medicate. Thank you. It's good that they're doing that. However, we need a lot more understanding of how to do that in a responsible, mature, adult way where everyone takes responsibility for their part in it. So, to go back to me on methadone, it was great that they were giving it to me. My part is I was selling it for heroin. And that's not okay. That's antisocial behavior. That's going to get judged.
Yeah.
The reason methadone came into the UK at the time is not as a recovery solution, but to stop the spread of HIV. So there are all the addicts, and who pays for the methadone is the criminal justice system, not the national health. So it's actually the police that are selling you the drugs, giving you the drugs, the opiates, but it's like, so all that's happened is your drug dealer's gone from
a guy on the street
to the police who've got you waking up every morning, going down to the chemist, getting your script, and then you go back to your council flat, you watch telly, you're in jail.
Yeah.
You can't leave your area because you have to get your script every day. Yeah.
Oh, they only prescribed it like a specific place?
Yeah, the chemists distribute it.
Okay.
So, so there's a huge cultural shift that needs to happen.
Tell us about what you think that should be.
Well, I think the world is addicted to cell phones.
We are looking at one right now. Rhino has two.
And how can we use that to... I mean, recovery is about education.
Yes.
Yeah? The word clinic comes from French. It means place of bedside learning. Yeah? And when we have patients come here, we treat them as students.
Yeah.
So with technology, we can teach people stuff. Yeah, we can, like, I've created this global school through Pocket Rehab.
Please tell us about Pocket Rehab, because it's genius. Like, honestly, this is something that I endorse. I think I've endorsed it on every video. And guys, just so you know, there's no payment between David and myself in regards to that. I love Pocket Rehab. I think it's a genius idea. And I think the idea between technology and learning and how you can actually help people with that is brilliant.
So Pocket Rehab was created by Damien Ross in the States. And he created it because he went into treatment, and when he came out of treatment, all that was available for him was his sponsor or going to gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he thought, let's create this thing called Prevent Relapse Now, Pocket Rehab, which is a peer support. So it's for anyone that's in recovery or wanting recovery. So there's no professionals there. Yeah, and he's had 100,000 downloads. Yeah, and then he got in touch with me about 3 years ago. Around the coaching side.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So my mandate is to develop coaches, people with lived experience who've got strong recovery, whatever that means.
Yeah.
That they can then kind of be there in a professional way on the platform to make recovery available to those people that can't afford it. Yeah. So Pocket Rehab is a school, and we train people, we empower them so they can go and treat. Yeah? And we'll meet anyone along that addiction, harm reduction, abstinence line.
And that's what's so important, because so I was speaking to someone online who was like, I tried the 12-step meetings but immediately felt I was not allowed in there because I was on Suboxone or because I was on methadone. And then they say, where else can we go? And then you've got something like Pocket Rehab that is open to discussing any kind of recovery path with a group of peers.
Exactly.
Which is, it takes away that sense of isolation, because people on MAT treatment or harm reduction treatment are scared to step foot into NA, you know?
Stigmatized.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that for a while. When I first, because it's not big in South Africa or really discussed. And when I first saw, like, there's a lot of meme pages on recovery, and I saw people mocking people on Suboxone. I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know what it was here, and I thought the memes were funny. And now, as I'm learning and really throwing myself into understanding this kind of stuff, it's actually really sad that those people can't put themselves in a situation where they can actually meet other people who are abstaining, so they can say, okay, I can be like that one day. Right now I'm on this, I'll wean myself off and get to that point, because they're immediately isolated. That's my rant.
I'm talking to the converted here.
We're learning a lot. And I like this kind of conversation, because you're not like, it's not necessarily us sitting here and you saying, this is my whole story. You're actually educating. And this is what I really like with you. Like, I met David on TikTok. Sorry, just getting back. I met David through TikTok, even though we've been like around the same program and around the same people for years. And the first thing, like, as soon as we started speaking, I learned from you. It was just learning with David. And that's what I appreciate, and that's why I think it's so great that you're able to talk to these homies, you know?
I'm also learning.
We're learning. You're learning about TikTok.
So what I need 1,000 followers. That's one thing I learned. So I can do a live video. That's one thing. Unashamedly, David Collins Coaching.
I'm going to make like a whole thing about that. Guys, if you're on here, follow David. It's going to be linked in the description.
What was it again?
David Collins Coaching. David Collins Coaching. TikTok. Pocket Rehab. TikTok. Anyway, so so that's why I enjoy speaking to you. What were we talking about before? Because we should...
David Collins Coaching.
Oh, David Collins Coaching. Have you heard of David Collins Coaching?
I have. So talking about listening.
Yes.
Yeah. What do we listen to? We listen to people's stories. Yeah. And when we hear someone's story, we take stuff from it, and we can change our perspective, our thinking, the way we respond, react. That's why it's so important to hear people's stories. Yeah?
And that's why my mind has changed around harm reduction and around MAT, because you're hearing people's stories on the internet, you know?
When do people want to stop using?
When they're willing.
When they're using.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've got to stop smoking cigarettes.
Yes. Yeah.
So how come we don't want to meet people? We'll only talk to people when they're clean.
That is so true. That is so true. Because every time I was using, I was like, "This is it. I'm done. It's enough." I remember once I threw a bag out the car window when I in the middle of using, and then I went back in the closet.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
yes.
but I wanted to
That
stop.
obsession.
Yeah. I was like, someone else is gonna get that, and then in my head I rationalized it, and I was like, I'll just take it and I'll sell it to someone. Because now I'm stopping. I'm never touching it again. And I put it in my bra and I drove home and I used. You know, but I wanted to stop. I like when you're using, you want to stop. You're tired, man.
And that's why things like Pocket Rehab, TikTok technology, I can check in with someone at 3 o'clock in the morning, high as a kite, and say, "Fuck, I really want to stop now."
And someone will respond.
And then someone will say, "Okay, great. Well, you know, you've got this, and this in your area. This can help you. What would it look like? Just engage." And it's a process.
I love that so much. I really love that so much. Dave, thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you want to share? Any other pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, I just want to bless you and honor you for what you're doing, the amount of work that you put into this stuff, your heart that you bring to it. It's I really want to, and I'm serious.
I know you are. Yeah.
I want you to know that I see what you're doing.
Thank you, David. Thank you. That really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. See, he makes me laugh and he makes me cry. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for watching.
No, wait, we're not finished.
Oh, David Collins Coaching.
David Collins Coach. Just do you want to tell everyone where they can find you one more time and how they can reach you and like plug foundation, and then we will wrap up. I want to give you the opportunity.
I don't know what to. I mean, find me on TikTok.
I'll plug David.
Tony.
Okay. Find David on TikTok at David Collins and Pocket Rehab on TikTok. And if you're interested in learning more about the Foundation Clinic, just check out their website.
Yeah.
Contact David, discuss it with him.
And then the Ubuntu Addiction Community Trust, UACT. So ultimately all this stuff's in a public benefit organisation. And you can find that at uact.org.za.
There we go.
No, uact.org. Just uact.org.
uact.org. Not ZA. Not ZA, guys. And if you're also interested in learning, if you're interested in becoming a coach, a recovery coach yourself, David's the man to help you.
They're going to come through you.
Come through, well, yeah.
So the journey is you become the peer recovery specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's somebody that's got lived experience that they'd like to turn into a profession. Yeah. And then you've got a certified professional recovery coach, which is somebody that has more experience. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily have lived experience, but can engage with users and their families or the workplace environment, and then we've got business coaching, which is about relationships within organizations. Because what I did notice when I was working at JP Morgan, teams behave like dysfunctional families in rehabs, and that the organizations could really benefit from the systemic family work that happens in clinics.
That's interesting. Yeah. That is
because people have got to work together. Now, with COVID, everyone's like the company has come to the kitchen. Yeah. So now you've got the family and the organization together. Yeah. Nobody's being policed. Yeah. You can wake up in the morning and start drinking at your Zoom call.
Yeah. Turn off the camera.
Yeah. And people are struggling out there with loss of jobs, loss of income, working all the time with the kids running around, missing their colleagues in the offices or whatever it is, and it impacts people.
Yeah.
And those people deserve recovery.
Everyone does.
Everyone deserves it.
Everyone does. And I love that culture of recovery. It's not just addiction based. That's a good way to wrap it up.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap, guys. Dave, thank you so much for coming. I would also like to just extend this. David, it's been an honor to get to know you over the last couple of months. We met on TikTok and he's become, I consider, a really good friend of mine. He's full of shit. I love it. It's the best. And thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to do some awesome stuff together. So watch this space.
Cool. Love to come back. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Have an awesome time. Please like and subscribe. Follow this guy, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace. How did I used to do it? Peace. Sorry, Meg. I'm doing it again. Peace.